Today, I'm joined here with Gabrielle Whitkin. Gabrielle, thank you for joining us here today on the Agent Stories podcast. Over here on my monitor, I've got a long list of achievements from you, including ranked number 35 by volume amongst 1,000 of licensed realtors in the DC metro area, ranked amongst the top 1.5% of agents nationwide, distinguished as the one to watch by Arlington Magazine. And we could go all day about all these achievements. But I don't think that would do it justice. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm Gabrielle Whitkin. I live in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I am a real estate agent with TTR Sotheby's International Realty in my market. I am in my fifth year of real estate. Prior to that, I was a tech consultant with a big consulting firm for about 5 years. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. I'm married to my husband, and we live in Arlington, Virginia, just across the water from Georgetown.
Beautiful. You mentioned that you've been in real estate for 5 years, and before you were a tech consultant. And I was reading that you moved to Washington to study biomedical engineering, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So how, I don't know about you, maybe I'm living under a rock, but I don't know how biomedical engineering and real estate have anything in common. So what made the switch? How'd you get into real estate?
Sometimes I don't know either. Let's see. I loved biomedical engineering.
Hmm.
I have such like an engineer brain.
Yeah.
Really enjoy numbers. I have this analytical side of me. And after I graduated college, I went into consulting. I got a job in consulting.
Okay.
Um, and I learned that I'm also a very social person. I really
Mm.
enjoyed the interaction with clients. Um, I remember in college having to take some psychology electives or sociology, and I loved that. So once I started working, I had this like analytical side of me, but I also really enjoyed working with people and feeling like I was helping them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get out of the corporate rat race.
Okay.
I just really struggled with the leaders who were beyond me and like seeing the path that I would also live if I stayed in that.
Hmm.
So I decided to, well, I thought about it and decided to get my real estate license because I could get my license while still keeping my job and see if I liked it because I really enjoyed the one-on-one interaction with my clients
Yeah.
and feeling like I was helping them. I could learn about their life. It was like it was so fun, the interpersonal relationships. But I also always loved going into people's homes. Even as a kid, I remember being so excited to get to go to someone's house because you just learn so much about them. It's like their
Okay.
sacred space.
Yeah.
And so I got my real estate license, and within 6 months, I was able to quit my full-time consulting job, and I went full-time into real estate, and I am in my fifth year of real estate.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. So that makes the tie between biomedical engineering and real estate. I guess when you got your license, obviously you were still a consultant. What was your, I guess, strategy for like, okay, cool, you got your license, but it's like now you got to go out there. What was your, I mean, obviously you
Yeah.
said you like talking to people, but what was your strategy for like going out there and meeting potential clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am not necessarily someone who could just like go to a restaurant or a bar and meet a bunch of people and make friends that way.
Yeah.
That's a little uncomfortable for me. I wish I could do that. That'd be awesome. Um, but that was a little bit too far outside of my comfort zone. So I acknowledged that I truly knew nothing. And I remember saying to my boyfriend at the time, now husband, like, if if I were a buyer or a seller, I wouldn't hire me either. I don't know anything yet. I need to get knowledge. So I chose to ask to shadow as many agents as I could who I knew they had home inspections or they maybe needed help with showings or would just let me tag along. I
Hmm.
spent time in the office. You hear conversations and how things are conducted.
Hmm.
Um, and from that, everything I learned, if I was reading a book or an article, I would post about that on Facebook because it's free to post whatever you want really on Facebook. And I didn't have
Hmm.
any marketing money at first because I had no sales.
Hmm.
So I started posting on social media and really positioned myself as this real estate expert. And
Hmm.
from that, people began to reach out to me and identifying me as top of mind when they thought of real estate. And I tried to post 10 times a week, which kind of sounds crazy, but it wasn't all real estate. It was
Okay.
things I'm doing, pictures of my cats, where I live, this whole concept of people wanting to work with who they know, like, and trust. It wasn't
Yeah.
just that I'm in real estate and I know things, but getting people to see me through social media and have this feeling of like, I know her and I like her and I'm going to reach out to her because I'm thinking about buying a house.
Hmm. And I think you brought up a really good point. This is actually a question that I want to dive into. But you said you started posting on Facebook and staying top of mind and starting to get people to know, like, and trust you. And I'm a big believer that in order for a sale to go through in any industry, the person needs to know you, like you, and trust you. And it's like if they don't know anything about you, they can't see your personal side. How can they know you? How could they trust you? They may like you, but it's like you're still missing two-thirds of the, I call it the sales triangle. And so I think that's really incredible. But I guess I want to get your insight. Why? Why did you go, I'm gonna start posting on Facebook? Why not? Oh, I'm gonna post on LinkedIn, or you know what? I'll just send out emails or newsletters. I'll just go cold door knocking. Why Facebook and social media specifically?
Great question. I think I let's see. I read something. I can't remember exactly why I chose that one first because I really wasn't that active on Facebook. But
Hmm.
I do remember this aha moment where I was like, everyone's on Facebook, no matter who, whether you hate on Facebook or not, whether you like things or not, you are a consumer and you're on it and you're seeing things. And
Yep.
I learned pretty quickly that even the people that were reaching out to me as new leads, they weren't even necessarily liking my content, but they were absorbing it and seeing it. And I saw that that was working. So I kept doing it. And
Hmm.
then sort of expanded. Okay, like if, I wanted to stay top of mind. Like I said, I aimed to post 10 posts a week. That's
Hmm.
not necessarily like a thing to do on Instagram. Like 10 posts a week is like a lot, but now we have stories so you can see
Hmm.
day-to-day stuff. So I leverage stories a lot. So people probably get more of that know me, like me from my stories, and then trust me is like, oh, you come to my page and you see this evidence of success.
Hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I'm a big believer personally in there's three content buckets. I've done a lot of, God, at this point, hundreds, if not even thousands of hours into research on social media. I'm considered like the young generation, the iPad babies, whatever and whatnot. And one of the things I found is like there's three content buckets that somebody could post, and there's growth content, there's nurture content, and there's conversion content. And I think one of the things that you nailed the head on is the nurturing content, which I think a lot of people miss out on. Is like they think, like, realtors specifically, I don't want to call people out, but like a lot of realtors I see post all these, oh, new house sold, this sold, which is like,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. But it's like, and I gotta be honest, I'm thinking from a buyer perspective or a seller perspective, a consumer perspective. Why would I care? It's like, what's in it?
Yeah,
What's in it for them? And how does that get me to know you? It's like, cool, you sold home. I mean, awesome, that's great. I don't frown upon that you shouldn't post that. I think a lot of people miss the mark on the nurture content where you can like share who you truly are as a person, which is like if somebody's going to do business with you, business is a relationship. It's not a transaction. And
right,
anything about a relationship, they got to know you, like you, and trust you. We go back to that triangle yet again. And I think one of the biggest things is like people miss out on the nurture. They don't let people into their personal life. And I think that creates a
right.
connection that can go so much further than anything else. And I guess I want to circle back because I'm getting ahead of myself 'cause I'm getting all excited, all tech, yada, yada, yada. But you mentioned posting on Facebook and how people, whether you hate it or like it, you're on Facebook. And actually makes me think of a point when a couple months ago, I was thinking to myself, if I was gonna get a realtor, okay? And let's say I couldn't use the realtor I currently had, or let's say I'm moving to a new city, I had to find a new realtor. How would I choose the realtor that who would help me? Like, let's say if I'm moving to New York, I don't live in New York. Okay, well, that's kind of biased. I'd say Ryan Serhant if I could even get in with him. But wow, look at that again. He posts everywhere, right? But it's like
Right.
I asked myself this question from a consumer perspective. If I were to find an agent for somewhere where I didn't know, how would I do it? Well, I'd probably go on social media. I'd probably see who has a presence, who can I get to know before I even talk to them. And I think
Right.
I mean you started what posting on Facebook how long ago?
5 years ago.
So you were ahead
Yeah,
of the
so
game.
2018. Yeah.
That's like that was like far ahead of the game. And now I correct me if I'm wrong, you post on other social medias as well?
Now I use Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I don't
Okay.
post all the same content on all three, but wherever it's useful, like LinkedIn, I try to keep it a little more professional.
Hmm.
Whereas, I'm not going to post a funny photo of my cats on LinkedIn. Um, but yeah, I'll use those three platforms. And I acknowledge that there are other social media platforms, but those have, I know how to use them. I've got a good return on investment, and I don't necessarily have the bandwidth to expand sort of beyond that. But
Okay.
I'm getting a little bit more into the AI space of like video podcasting and using
Hmm.
AI to get clips, whether it's sound or video. And so I'm playing more around with like tools versus other social platforms now.
Okay, interesting. And I saw you have or I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but you're launching I think a podcast yourself in, what is it, 29, 30, 31 in a couple days here in the new
In a
year in
few
2024.
days.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Tell us about that.
So excited. Yes. So it'll be primarily focused in the DC metro area, interviewing people who are really the movers and shakers of the area. And it's called A Rich Life Begins at Home. So really talking to people to share their journeys, strategies, successes on what makes a life well lived in our market. So
Okay.
whether it could be anyone from a restaurant owner or a shop owner to an interior designer, across the board. So really
Hmm.
kind of focus more on like what makes a life well lived, tips and tricks, and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, interesting. And of course on the YouTube thing, I looked at your YouTube and your first video that you ever posted got 22,000 views. How
I know, right?
what was going through your mind? Actually, I guess a question I have to ask, and I'm curious to know the answer. You don't have to share it. But did those
Yeah.
22,000 views amount to anything? Did somebody reach out to you and say, "Hey, Gabrielle, I saw your YouTube video. I loved it. Could we chat? I'm looking to move to DC." Did anything come from that or?
Of those 22,000 views, I got zero business from that.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Direct business. You never know who
Okay.
watches it and then, thinks to reach out to you. But I will
Hmm.
say, I did use other videos though. So, like for that video, if I was interacting with or got introduced to someone who might be moving to the area, I would use that content to share what would resonate with them. So, oh, hey, check out,
Mm.
things to know before you move to the Washington, D.C. area, or here's 5 questions to ask before you purchase a condo. So
Hmm.
I would use that content and include it either in my newsletters or direct clients to it as needed. And it was very effective that way. And it was
Okay.
effective in posting let me clarify actually. I didn't get any leads from YouTube specifically. So like someone found me and watched my video and then reached out.
Hmm.
But I did when I put them on Instagram and Facebook, people who I was already interacting with like through social media, they
Yeah.
reached out. So on
Ah.
average, I was getting about one deal closed per video that I posted. So the
Wow.
ROI was huge. Yeah, it was so effective.
That's crazy. And on average, like how long would you say it took you to make a video?
it got easier to, and now it's even easier with being able to use like Chat GPT and kind of help you get crisp on what you want to say concisely.
Hmm.
And then there's all these AI tools to help you edit it. But
Yeah.
it would take me maybe in total, I would say 1 to 2 hours to record. I tried to keep it, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes.
Hmm.
It would just depended on the content. But I think if I went back to doing that today, it would take me even less time just because you get, like you get better. The more you practice something, the better and
Yeah.
more efficient you are at it. So I think now I could probably get it down to like 30 minutes or less for a video that I just wanted to, you know, talk
Wow.
about whatever it was in real estate. And it's
That's
really just
ridiculous.
questions that you get a lot from people, will my house sell for more money if I stage it? Like that's so interesting. And that's also great content to be able to share with clients maybe after a listing appointment and you are talking to them about maybe staging. You could follow up
Hmm.
and share that with them, and that's adding value.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I guess from your perspective, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about the numbers, like an hour invested and
I
you get a
know,
deal
right?
closed.
And
Like, I mean,
whatever
now
the
granted,
commission would be.
yeah, and it's like now granted you still have to work with them and actually do the deal and whatnot if you're
Right.
showing or if you're helping sell the home, etc. But it's like from a pure perspective of one video, 1 hour equals one client is like maybe the craziest return I've ever heard of. And it's like, I think the
Yeah.
coolest thing, I mean, you can tell me if this happened to you or not, is that video is posted forever. You don't have to film it
Right.
again, and that video can keep bringing people in. It can keep nurturing people. You can keep sending it to people and saying, "Hey, look, here's this video. Check this out." And it's like you never have to film it
Yeah.
ever again.
It's so great. And honestly, what I've been doing now is just using my phone and I'll
Hmm.
take a video, I'll hold up my phone, take a video of me talking about whatever it is I want to talk about. It could be a client success story of a contract I just negotiated or whatever you want to talk about. I try to keep it again like 1 to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And because I want people to stay engaged, but I'll
Hmm.
record it on my phone, put it into the captions app, and it
Okay.
creates captions for me. I can overlay music, and within, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, I post that on my Instagram, and I'm getting the same amount of return on investment as I was with those like 1 to 2 hour sit down YouTube videos being
Yeah.
produced. So
Wow.
that's kind of where I've gone to now, is just doing
Interesting.
that raw footage, because I think there's a lot like in for real estate agents, authenticity is important. Like people are hiring you.
Hmm.
And once they know that you can do the job, like they also want to like you.
Hmm.
So I think the best way to do that is to be on camera. And when you make it look organic and natural, like you really convey your authentic self, and that resonates with people.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I might get canceled for saying this, but I think that when you generalize, all realtors do the same thing, right? And this is I might here comes
We
all the
do,
hate,
totally.
but all realtors do the same thing, and so when it's like when it comes down to why would somebody pick you versus somebody else, well, it's who you are. It's who you are as a person, and it's like the best way I think personally you can share that is by sharing who you are online. Like let everybody know what do you like to do? Do you like to bake? Do you like to bike? Are you a big sports fan? And it's like get people to start to resonate with you because come the time when they need a realtor, it's like, oh, I like the Eagles. This guy likes the Eagles. Okay, let me go chat with this guy because it's like we're all realtors. And so they want to go work with the person who they like the most and who they think will do the best job. And so yeah, no,
Totally.
that's
After I hire someone to do something, I think the first thing I say to my husband is, I really liked them, right? Like when you know it's a fit, you're like,
yeah.
okay, it's assumed like, okay, they can do the job. And the next point you make is, and I like them. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think you went over the authenticity thing, which is like one of the things I've tried my absolute best to like hone in on in businesses like being authentic. Because I read this book. It's a really, really amazing book. It's actually right here. It's called Never Lose a Customer. And the guy argued that there's no such thing as B2B, B2C, none of this stuff. He said that the only type of business interaction is H to H. Everyone's like, what's H to H? Human to human. At the end of the day, any business interaction ever is a human doing a transaction with another human. And when I read that, I was like, whoa, human to human. I was like, oh my goodness,
Hmm.
everybody's a human. So if we boil it down and get rid of business, get rid of all this stuff, it's like these people are just humans. It's like we're all fundamentally somewhat the same, right? Like we all are born relatively now, okay, relatively the same in the sense of we're born as a baby, we're young, we're small, right? Some of us, most of us have, two eyeballs, mouth, etc. We're born, we all want to, I don't want to say we all, but a lot of people generally want to find love in their life and live a happy and fulfilling life. We're all humans. When we boil it
Yeah,
down, we're all humans. And I think one of the biggest things people overlook is like people just don't be human. People like I remember a long time ago I was trying to write scripts and I was trying to write a script and I remember I went to my mentor and I said, "Hey, can you review this?" And he's like, "Dude, you sound like a robot." And I at first I was like confused. I was like, "What do you mean? Like I spend all my time writing the script. Like what do you mean?" He's like, "Dude, it just sound like write it as if you're gonna say it out loud and talk like a human." And then I did
right,
that, and the script then wow, magically on to perform way better. And it was like an aha moment
right,
where I was like, wow, I just gotta be human. Interesting how
right.
that works. And so I think you bring up a super great point when it comes to you gotta be a human. You gotta be authentic. You gotta be personable. You gotta be somebody that people can look at and go, I like this person. I want to work with this person because it's like they seem like somebody who could relate to me, understand, um, etc. And here I'm getting ahead of myself. I just get so excited when it comes to talking about this kind of stuff. But it's like you brought up such a great point, and like being human, that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the past few years is like just be a human. Sounds crazy,
Mhm.
but worked wonders for me.
Yeah, and it's so fulfilling for you to just go out every day and be yourself.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't want to, I know we're getting close to the time here, but I want to ask if you had to restart from the complete beginning, alrighty, and you had to become a realtor again today, what would you do differently? What advice would you give your younger self? How would you structure and strategize? What would you do?
Oh, such a good question. So many thoughts come to mind. My first year, I was everywhere doing everything. I felt like I needed to know the most amount of like all the people. I needed everyone to know me. I like almost I burned myself out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and after that, I learned and I just kind of broke it down like, what are the three most effective, call them pillars or avenues or rocks, whatever it is, like what are the three most effective sources of business for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I assessed like where did my deals come from? Who, where were they? Why did they transact?
Mm-hmm.
So I think being you could say authentic, but like simplifying where you want to do your lead gen
Mm-hmm.
um would have been helpful, right? Like maybe it's learn a new hobby that you genuinely enjoy. Like
Mm-hmm.
don't go to and sign up for this an English class or a running club and then like this dinner, like it's like you're gonna wear yourself out and
Okay.
people can sense like you're trying too hard. So I think figure out like what are your three pillars. It could be, referrals within your company. It could be, look at lead gen. How do you want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and marketing, right? And then just branch off of that because it's so easy in this industry to just want to learn whatever the flashy new thing is or invest money in this new marketing tool. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
need to do that up front. You don't need a YouTube channel. Like, no, keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
What's the 20% of activity that's going to yield 80% of your results?
Love that rule.
Um, the other thing I would do is read The Go Giver and Ninja Selling, both
Ninja selling.
such good books. And basically talks like, yeah, at its simplest form with The Go Giver, it's um, learning to approach situations where you're you're serving others. And like, don't confuse that with I'm, being a servant of your clients. It's not that. Boundaries are healthy, but how
Hmm.
can I serve you? How every interaction with your client, there are days where if I'm like, who do I have to reach out to again? I'm not sure. I didn't write it down. I'm like, okay, who's someone in my hot, warm, cold list that I can give value to right now? And believe it or
Mm,
not, you'll reach out to people and it might just be like, hey, I'm just checking in. You're on my mind. I'm thinking about you. How's it going? And that can lead to so many things because you're leading with by being a go-giver. You're calling
hmm,
them because you care. You're not calling them because you're expecting something in return.
hmm.
So that was a big lesson. This in the Go Giver, they talk about the law of reciprocity versus the law
Ah,
of receptivity. And
hmm,
reciprocity is I give you something, then I want something back, and that's not a successful way of doing business. Rather,
hmm,
the law of receptivity is I'm going to give, 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 and I am open to receiving from whatever avenue that comes from. It might be from the person you're giving to, but it may be a phone call from a neighbor down the street who was just thinking of you or saw your name on a
mm.
sign somewhere. So, yeah, give and stay open to receiving.
Wow, that is awesome. I feel like if I had to become a realtor today, I'd be ready to crush it tomorrow and start closing deals within the next few days. But obviously that isn't
Enjoy the
reality.
journey. It's very hard. Don't compare yourself to people who've been doing this for 2 decades or a decade. Like, just keep your blinders on, stay in your lane and focus, and you will succeed.
Wow. Oh, awesome. That is really, really amazing advice and two really good book recommendations. Well, Gabrielle, thank you so much for coming on here. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to chat with you and learn a bit about, your kind of strategies and what you do differently and how you kind of found your groove and are now crushing it, which is amazing to hear. So thank you for coming on here and sharing
Thank you.
all of your story.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.